Shireen, welcome to the Sweat Elite podcast. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
I'm looking forward to talking about your progression as a runner. You still have the Lebanese national record for the half marathon, and you did have the full, which you may take back again. But I thought I'd spend the first half of this conversation talking about the awesome experience that you had a couple of months back, where you did 7 marathons in 7 days in 7 continents. So I've got a few questions, but firstly, just as an overall, experience, how was it?
It was amazing. It was definitely an experience that once in a lifetime experience that one of those things like would I do it again? Yes and no, but no, because I had such a great experience and the camaraderie was so great that I don't think I can ever get that back.
Yeah, sure.
But it was amazing.
Yeah. How did you first learn about it, and when did you start taking it seriously that you'd actually do it?
So the first time I saw it was on social media. I believe it was Ryan Hall. He posted something about it, like, hey, meet me in one of the races or cheer for me or something like that. And I clicked on the link, and at first I was like, what is this, And once I clicked on it, I started reading more about it. I'm like, wait, why would I be cheering? I can actually do this, and I want to do this. And that's how the idea started to build. And, I started kind of asking people around me, like, is it crazy if I want to do this? Like, what do you guys think? And people were like, oh, I heard someone who did this. So from there, it just the idea started becoming more a reality, something that I wanted to do. And I just kind of set my mind to do it.
And how did you end up going? I mean, most people doing this event probably don't think too much about the times that they're running in the marathons. It's probably more so about finishing. I'm very aware of that. But, this is mostly a performance podcast, obviously, as you know. What times did you run? And tell us more about sort of how difficult it really was to be able to run a marathon basically every 24 hours in a different country, like all the travel between. There's like so many questions.
But so of course, like going into it, I didn't really have a goal in mind. I was just like, okay, I'm going to do my training, which I train on my own, and it was a lot of miles, just a lot of miles back and forth, morning, evening, after work. So I decided, just go out there, run, do your best, and once I was there and I saw who was there with me, like it was Beck Gentry, Hillary, and Ashley, and they're all just amazing runners. And Jenny Simpson showed up actually last minute, which was great. But none of us had a goal. We just went for an easy run the day before, and everyone was like, oh, this actually feels like a good pace. It was around 3 hours. We're like, oh, maybe we could do that. And obviously you don't know how the body's going to hold up. And but yeah, so we went to Antarctica, the first race, and for that one, we didn't really have a goal. Everyone just kind of separated. We were running on like the runway where the plane landed, and the other part of it was very soft, like not so great, but it was just kind of like running on sand, which was very strange.
Sand or snow or sort of?
It felt like it was all snow, but it felt like sand because it was such soft snow.
Right.
I think we're all running in loops. It was, I think it was like 10 loops or 4 loops. Yeah, 10 loops, I think, in Antarctica. But it just felt hard. And I didn't have race shoes. Some people did have race shoes. I obviously equipped myself as if I'm going hiking a mountain. But yeah, so we finished the first one, I think, in 3 hours and about 20 or 30 minutes or 38 minutes.
Pretty good, yeah.
Which was very good for the first one. And then for the next ones, I think the group of us, the women, we just started the race in Cape Town, and as we were running, we're like, okay, does this feel good? Do we think this is a good pace? And we just kind of stuck with it. And we averaged, I want to say, for me, I averaged around 3:14. So we were running some of them at 3:05, 3:10, 3:11, which is not bad, but I don't think any of us was trying to push very hard. We wanted to stay together and just finish together, and that was always a goal of ours, because at the end of the day, you don't want to do this alone. You want to do this with, a group of people, and that's what we decided to do. The traveling, honestly, the first trip going to Antarctica, it's you're so excited, you're fresh, you're I'm ready for this, so you don't really have a lot of expectation. When we first landed, it was unbelievable, just the thought of being there. And then from there, we finished the race, and then we arrived to Cape Town. It was 2 a.m. in the morning, and we had to have all our things packed because the race started the next morning at 7 a.m.
Oh.
So there was a lot of that where you had to be okay with just lack of sleep. And I would say like there's some races like Istanbul, going from Istanbul to the Asian side to European side. I honestly went to bed and I didn't eat. Like I finished the marathon. We got there so late. It was 7 p.m. at night. It was raining and cold. We finished the race at like, I would say midnight or so. And then by the time we were at the hotel, it was 2 a.m. So it was one of the choice that you do, like, do I want to sleep or should I eat? And we all knew we were going to get breakfast the next morning, but obviously you're not getting a big meal because you have to run again. But the sacrifices we made along the way and, hopping on a flight that is a 14-hour flight where never felt more excited to actually be on a 14-hour flight. I was like, this feels amazing, and yeah, but it was awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. And so, what was the 14-hour flight? Was that the longest journey of the trip, and what was sort of the average flight duration that you had to take?
So the first one, so Antarctica to Cape Town, that was like pretty short. Cape Town, we went to Australia. That was probably around 14-hour flight.
To Perth, right?
Yes, to Perth. And then from Perth, we went to Istanbul. And then Istanbul, we did the Asian side, European side. That was the first time we actually stayed in a hotel. It felt amazing.
Because every other night you're in the plane sleeping?
We're on the plane sleeping. So
everyone except that one? Or,
except for that one. Okay. So the first one, when we went to Antarctica, we took just a normal flight that was organized by called the White Desert. And then from Cape Town, for the rest of the trip, we actually had like a jet. It was the plane that was used from the Rolling Stones on their last tour. Oh, wow. So it was really awesome. So everyone was so excited to get in there, and it's like you're settling into your room, you're just, it was a lay flat, plane, beds. And so we all were just so excited to see who's your roommate for the next, 7 days. So we hopped on there, you just kind of get adjusted. Some people had the recovery boots or just different type of, recovery tools. And but yeah, as soon as we get on the flight, we usually have dinner, and then everyone puts their mask on or boots on and just pass out for the rest of the trip. So you touched on the dinner part, the food part. Curious, how does that work? Do they get the catering from each place they go, or are they packed it all beforehand? And how does that work? And what are they feeding you as well? Like, is it packaged meals with kind of like regular plain food, or how does it work? It was actually very good food. It was very healthy, and if someone had like dietary restrictions, they really had the options for everyone. And I remember the first time I got in there, I'm like, I've never had such a great, amazing food on the flight. It was like rice, chicken, salad. They had a lot of buffet style, so when you walk in the plane, they just had everything laid out, which was actually kind of nice because you have the choice to refill and eat as much as you want. But they had everything on the flight. Everything that we needed was available, so that was really nice.
Did anyone suffer any injuries or anything like that and had to sit any out, or?
Some people were, they would have like ankle injuries or maybe some knee injuries. We did have a physical therapist on the flight and a massage person, but we're 60 people on the flight, so you can only take care of a few athletes. But I think everyone, that is probably a physical therapy in like the real world would just kind of help each other and support each other through it. But yeah, I would say that I don't know. It was just more just kind of ride the roller coaster and just go with it. And everybody asked me like, did you feel tired at all, or how did you feel the whole way? And I think because I was so in the moment and I knew I signed up to do this, that I did not feel tired at all. Like honestly, I never at one point felt like I don't want to do this, I want to go home. I never felt that way at any point of the whole flight. That's awesome. Yeah.
What was your favorite leg, the marathon? Like, if you could go back and do one of them, what do you think was the best course or the best experience?
So, I would say, Antarctica was absolutely amazing. Just the thought of being there was like so cool. I was calling friends from like Antarctica, and I was like, oh my gosh, guess where I am?
I think we got a video.
A video. But that was like really cool. But I have to say Australia, Perth was probably one of my favorite marathon there. The people there were amazing. Like everyone's cheering for us, like just such a good mood. And I loved it. It was awesome.
That's so cool. Back to fueling or food again. Did you take gels with you, and what did you consume during it?
So
during each run, that is.
Yeah. So for the runs, I was using Morton.
Okay.
For the first like 2 or 3 marathons, I would say I was like, I'm usually someone who uses Morton for my runs, and it's for some reason, I don't know if it was just a flight or just a lot of it. After the third race, I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I can't, if I see one more and I'm just gonna throw up or gag, you know. It was just like a lot of it. But I switched with one of my friends on like the team.
You traded gels?
We traded gels, and it's crazy because she gave me goo, and I never ever like take goo on my runs, and I was like, this is what sits on my stomach. And I gave her all my Mortons, and I think it was just because we were not eating enough and just having a lot of gels. But we definitely had food on the course. So when we were in Cartagena or even like Antarctica, it felt a little bit like an ultra marathon because I've never had so much like Gatorade on the course. I would be running with a Gatorade in my hand, or I had a lot of gummy bears. They had that outside on the table, or like pretzels. I mean, I felt like I was snacking along the way. But we needed to have that because, you know, we didn't have a lot of food. So the food that you get was on the plane and whatever snacks you had. So it was kind of our way to stay refueled at all time. But yeah, so lived on the gels and the snacks that they were provided from the race organizers.
I think sometimes when you're sick of one particular gel, just changing to anything else is the solution. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, just change.
And I think it became a little bit psychological because I was having a lot of GI issues, and I'm like, it's the gel. It has to be the gel. There's nothing else that... So I switched, and I was like, oh, I feel so much better. And I definitely think that was like mental for me because I just couldn't take it.
Yeah. How did what did your body clock do here? Like, were you ever really consistently in? Obviously not, but like, I guess when you got back home, were you completely out of whack, like with where your time zone was? Like, how long did it take for you to get back to sleep normally?
So time, it's very interesting because time doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like when you're traveling, we land in Istanbul at 7 p.m. where usually if you're traveling, like, okay, great, I'm gonna go settle in my hotel. No, that was like change on the plane, let's go do a marathon, and then you get to go to sleep. So for us, like, time didn't matter. We arrived in Miami at 3 a.m. in the morning. Also, it didn't matter because we were racing at 7 a.m. But it's just you adjust. You know, you adjust your body, adjust. And when I came back to the U.S., like doing the Miami leg, it's funny because we landed at 3 a.m. And that was the first time. They're like, oh my gosh, we had like a tailwind. It's great. We arrived early. And that was the first time you're like, why do we have a tailwind? Like anywhere you go, you're like so excited you got there early. This is the first time we're like, can we please stay a little bit longer on the flight?
Yeah.
And so we got to Miami, and you know, it was just morning, and the race started at 7. I think you just kind of go with it. And I remember getting there and telling everyone, I'm like, I actually, if we had another marathon, I can actually go and do another 8th marathon because I honestly was getting in like a better shape as we went. Yeah. It was crazy. I didn't understand it, but I was getting better and better. And but obviously when I finished the marathon, I knew that was the end, and I just kind of shut down. I just wanted to go to sleep and just not have to get up and do anything. But yeah, adjusted right away. Felt a little bit tired the next day, just kind of sleepy, but just did my own. Just went on a fun bike ride in Miami and adjusted. So
yeah, awesome. It's so cool to hear so much about that experience because I've heard of people doing it, and I've never really spoken at length with anyone about it, but all these little questions I've had for a while, so it's cool to hear. Yeah, I guess switching gears now to, you know, after that you decided that you wanted to sort of switch gears and target a marathon this year. Before we talk about that, it'd be good for you to share just briefly what your experience in the half and the full has been before. I've mentioned that you've got the half record still in Lebanon. You know, I know the answers to these, but when did you set them, and a little bit more about what your goal is this year?
So I was holding the record for Lebanon in the half marathon and the full marathon. My sister just ran the full marathon in Valencia, and she now owns the Lebanese record.
What's that?
It is 2:36:30, I believe it was her time. I think mine was or 20, and mine was 2:36:40 or something like that. So we're very close.
Were you tracking it?
Not really. I wasn't tracking it. I knew she was in a good shape, and I knew she was ready to break it. And I always, I'm very competitive, but I'm also someone who like to set the bar high for others to chase it. And I'm glad it's my sister. Now, the question is, will I be chasing it? I mean, yes, I would like to. It's always kind of it's how life is, there's goals and you want to chase them. And I would like to try to break the record again and set the bar even higher. So I'm hoping I can do that in June. And then it's funny enough because I'm reuniting with all the 7-7 ladies.
Oh, yeah.
They're all actually going to run the race with me. And they're very fast, like Bex Gentry is a 2:32, and then Hillary is a 2:43, I believe, from New York. So that will be very exciting for us to get there. But yes, I'm,
looking forward to getting back into it.
As long as my body can take me there and can still push, I'm still going to push.
Yeah, sure. A lot of the conversations I've had with people on this podcast have been talking to people's strengths and weaknesses, lifetime mileage, and all these things. From your standpoint, you've been running quite some time, got a lot of lifetime mileage. What do you personally think you need in order to be able to break 2:36? Do you think, in your mind, is a priority of high mileage again? Is it marathon pace work? Is it speed work? And of course, I've been working with you for several months now, and I'm keen to hear in your mind, because, I coach a lot of people, and when someone's new to the game, it's a bit different to coaching someone like yourself that you'll get fit very quickly. You might not need as much volume, but in your mind, what do you really think that you're going to need to get down to 2:35 or faster?
For me, I think it's always a mental game. That's number one priority for me. I mean, training is simple, right? Like running it's not hard for me. Of course you push the body to do trainings, but you do that because you love to do it, and it should never feel like it's homework or, it's a pain, like, oh, I have to go out and do this run. If I ever feel that way, then I don't do it. I always do it because I truly love doing it. And so that comes from mentally being there. And so for me, if I focus on something and I set my mind to it, I don't think anything could stop me, to be honest with you. And I know that, and I know that from the 7-7 marathons that I did. I've done that from before marathons that I've done. Just that feeling of knowing you want something so bad and you set your mind to it. I don't think, no matter how training goes, and obviously like you have to train for it, but I think if you trust, your coach that is giving you the training in the situation, I trust you to coach me to get there. And so I obviously just follow that, and then all I have to do is just set my mind to be ready to run what I want to do. So
yeah, perfect. And you've got roughly 4 months until the race. Is there a thought in your mind of, because you've been training roughly 2 months now, at least back to very serious, and give you a 6-month runway, do you think at this point that you're on track for doing that, and how do you think that you are, if so?
I definitely do think I am.
Yeah.
So
I think you are.
Yes.
But I'm kidding you.
I hope so. So if I didn't think so, I think, obviously it takes a bit for me to get into it, and I have to for me, the closer I get to the race, the more I become more focused. Obviously now we have a little bit more of room where I'm just still like warming up my body to adjust to what's about to come, like the harder training, the harder runs. And then mentally also, I'm also like focusing on, okay, like you could do this, like this is what we're doing and this is what we're into it. And I like the approach that way a little bit because it just helps me in general like build that strong base. But for me it has to be, just right before the race, like a couple weeks before. I don't need a lot, just like a couple more weeks before the race where I can just be completely focused, and then that's what all that matters for me.
Yeah.
So
we had an interesting discussion on the Sweat Elite Coaching Discord channel, and we're talking about specific phases of the marathon. And you've spent some time training with Ryan Hall, and you mentioned that when you ran 2:36, your marathon specific block was only about 6 weeks in duration.
Correct.
Can you speak a little bit more to that, and how did he structure that for you in an overview?
Yeah, so when because I was training here in Chicago, and when I met like Ryan, he's like, come to Flagstaff, and so I decided to do it. It was during COVID. So February, I went to Flagstaff, started training with Ryan, and we had 6 weeks until the marathon. And those 6 weeks.
So you signed up to him with only 6 weeks.
Well, yes.
Yeah,
like he's like, I can coach you and help you get there. Right. So, and I felt so lucky that he's willing to just add me in his group, and but it was very focused. So when we were running, he just focused. I told him what I wanted to do, and we focused on that number and those paces. And it was 6 weeks of absolutely very hard training. I mean, there are days where he would give me the workout. I'm like, it's a joke, right? Like, there's no way I could do this. But somehow I got it done, and I could look back and say, wow, that was actually like, I can't believe I did this. And I didn't realize how I was having so much fun being there and like really enjoying that pressure of just being super focused. And I think because I was enjoying it so much, it didn't feel so painful. But again, it was very focused, 6 weeks. And I think if I had more than that, I probably would have broke mentally, because I don't think I can keep that up. I tried that on my own to do what I was doing with Ryan. I honestly couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's very powerful to have someone that's influencing.
Pushing you in, yeah. And just not having this long, stretchy, like, if you have a base and you know who you are, you know yourself, you can run, 60, 70 miles a week. I think 6 weeks for me is all that matters.
Yeah.
So,
did Ryan structure it in the form of mileage at all? Did he think about a mileage goal per week, or did he ever talk about that?
So I used to be a very high mileage, so I would go
Before Ryan,
right. Like I would go over 100. Always thinking like, oh, this is
miles.
Over 100 miles, yeah. And I always thought this is what worked for me. But when I joined Ryan, he's like, oh no, we're taking this down. I think my highest was 90 miles, but the workouts were very like quality workouts. And so the easy runs were just easy runs just to let the body recover, and the hard runs were hard. Like it was not just playing around, it was really hard. And so being okay with 90 miles maxed out was actually perfect for me.
Yeah. Did he actually talk about the volume per week, or did it just end up being 90 miles? Because I'm really, so many people base their training around a volume per week, and I've never been a big fan of that, even though I can also understand that it's a good idea because it means there's something to reach for.
Yeah.
But then if you start to structure everything around the volume per week, I've never really thought that's a great idea, so I'm just keen to learn what Ryan was like.
Honestly, I never knew what I was doing for mileage.
Okay.
Like it sounds, it's like people gonna say, how did you not know? You have a watch, you have everything. I never looked.
If you don't have a graph there, you won't know.
I mean, right now, actually, like training with you, like you run 60 minutes. I run 60 minutes. I don't even know. Sometimes I'm like, oh shoot, what did I run? Like, what was the time? How much? Like, I don't even look at the mileage. To me, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. As long as my body is feeling good, and my workouts are exactly where I want them to be, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah.
Because the way I look at easy runs are just really easy run. Like, doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter if I run 7 miles or 6 miles or 5 miles, I just ran my body for 60 minutes, and that's all that matters. And so with Ryan, we never looked at mileage, ever. He just kind of adjusted that. He just told me this is what you need to do, and that's what I did. For me, looking back, I was like, oh yeah, I did only, 90 miles was like high. I was actually a little bit shocked because I didn't realize that's all I was running compared to what I used to run.
Yeah, so you dropped mileage and improved.
I did.
Interesting. I'm glad that's on the record because a lot of people might not believe it. But anyways.
No, I did. I used to run honestly 115 miles a week or so, and completely took that down and focused on quality workouts.
Well, Sweat Elite was built off sharing and talking about crazy workouts, I guess. To finish off, I'd like to know if you're able to share anything Ryan got you to do, because I feel like, I've watched the documentary of his. I'm a big fan of Ryan Hall. I know, I wouldn't say I know him personally very well, but I reached out to him when I'm in Flagstaff. And I'd like to hear if you've got any stories about some of the really hard workouts you were talking about.
Yeah, so first of all, we never went on the track. So all our speed workouts were, 800, 400, 200, everything was on the road. He would put cones, and it was kind of strange at first because I'm like, wait, how am I supposed to? He's like, just follow the cones, and it's 200, that's when you pick up. But he didn't like really doing stuff on the track, which I love that because we are road runners, so why would be on the track? But I would say one of two hard workouts. One of them was, that was in Flagstaff, we did a 12-mile at medium pace, which probably was 6:40 pace, around there, 6:45. Then you have 5 minutes to change your shoes, get a drink or Morton gel, and you go back out and you do marathon pace for 12 miles. And that was exactly how I felt. I'm like, I'm here all day. I'm going to be here all day. Like, what is this, 12 miles back to back? Somehow it works. Somehow it just...
People in kilometers, that's 19.6K medium, and then marathon pace.
Yeah.
So you're almost doing 40K.
Absolutely, yeah. And it was just it's crazy, but you can't think about, you just have to say, okay, I have 12 miles, I'll change my shoes and I'll do it over again. That was it. And the second one was, it was a beautiful day, I remember that, and sunny, just a day that you're I can't wait to run outside. And he made me run on a treadmill and pick a pace that I can run, my marathon pace, and see how long I last. And I think I probably lasted 3 miles. And he's like, okay, that was enough. That's all I needed. and I think he was testing me mentally of how much I can push on the treadmill, but also having a pace where you can't adjust. You're just sticking with it. And he's like, just put it on there and then just run. And then once you feel like you can't, just stop. And that's when the workout's done. And I probably lasted 4 miles or so.
Wow.
But that was so like, cool. I would, if I recall, those are like my 2 hardest ones. And otherwise it was just follow Ryan on the bike.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Shireen, it's been great to have you on the podcast. We've been trying to do this for a little while, but either I've been out of town or you've been out of town. So but I'm really looking forward to working with you more in the next few months. And Grandma's Marathon is the goal. That's where you'll be reconvening with some of your 777 friends. So I guess if people wanted to see if you do break your sister's national record again, how can they follow your journey? You're on Strava.
I'm on Strava. I'm not so great on Strava. I kind of go in and out, but because I feel like I'm very competitive, so sometimes like seeing what others are doing, I just try to disconnect myself. But I am on Strava. Definitely on social media, Instagram. It's just Shireen.Njeim, and then awesome. Otherwise, follow Sweat Elite.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, and looking forward to the next few months.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Thanks.